All right, should be live. Should be here, just waiting for good old score to happen. I appreciate the 15 of y'all here, ready for the stream to be here. I do appreciate that. We're already talking about a pretty small slate today, with the 1 and the 4 already being filled up. I assume the 10 is almost there. Yeah, we're like 4, 10 filling. We're most likely. Let me turn this TV off. Um, Sheets may or may not join me. Typically, I only use the headset if I'm going to be talking with somebody else. Um, so he may be here, he might not be. I want to see very quick if we have another $10 contest up. Which, oh yeah, buddy boys, second $10 up, 356 people, 52 people. Don't know how to read numbers. Fantastic on a Friday. That's fun. When we're looking at this race here, let me go ahead and bring up all this stuff on the screen. You guys can go ahead and ask questions, and we'll look at whatever you guys want to do. I don't know if you want to start with the practice data or recent form, but I want to bring up the fact. Actually, let's go ahead and look at the last few races before we do this. Actually, so when we look back at the last couple Truck Series races, because I was going back and I was like, okay, man, I was like cracking my knuckles already. I was like, all right, I'm about to make another 10K. This is gonna be easy because I took down the one in the fall last year. But even when we look back at the last 5 races, that was a bit of an outlier. So we look back at the spring. Corey Heim and Zane Smith lead a majority of laps. We only had 134 laps in this one here. We ran to the end green, so we didn't get anything stupid, nothing crazy. We go back and look at the fall one that happened, and we had the lap leaders spread out a ton, and we had a ton of place differential come through from the teens. Okay, everybody in the top, 7 started outside, and really outside of Eka starting 8th. Everybody else from second 7 started outside the top 10, which leaned a very place differential heavy race. When we went back and looked at the spring race last year, 65 laps led 13 here, and then you know, Ben Rhodes leads early, or at least earlier in the race, goes lap down. Like, yeah, sure, we have some chaos here, but we still have we had a green flag run to the end earlier in the spring. We had a green flag to the end in the spring last year. In the spring, the fall race was the only one that so far that we've seen that has gone that direction. The fall race in 2022, we have 88 laps from Nemechek and 22 or 28 from Hocevar. We really don't see laps led from anybody else. I mean, Tymajiski starts second, leads 14. But when we look here, yet again, a number of laps, long green flag run in the end. Okay. We look back at the spring race 2022. Heavy lap leader, just with one guy. Heim starts second, runs into an issue, finishes 33rd, leads 18 laps, but it's just been a one dominator type of race. Now this one does end with a shorter run, but when we look back at these races, I mean, ironically, the one I won was the outlier of at least the last 5 we looked at. Also, yet again, I'm not doing the preview videos during the week just because it's easier to do it with the context of whatever slate we're looking at versus just like, well, entering the week, Christian Eckes seems like a good play, guys. Might want to play Christian Eckes. Might want to play Corey Heim and stuff. So that's where we're at right now. We look at the practice session. Corey had tire go down, got on the wall, wasn't able to post a Q lap, but we have Purdy, Sanchez, Layton Riggs, Enfinger, and Friesen leading the averages right off the bat. And we're seeing that these guys are running pretty good. Yet again, I just like being able to see the colors because my brain enjoys that. Let's go ahead and remove Boyd really fast from this. This is why I took Jennifer Jo Cobb out, just so she isn't tainting the water of this stuff here. But we look at where everybody's at, and I think the speeds are pretty strong. Let's go ahead and remove Dye's, one off 155 out of here, and we see that everybody's pretty much where they should be in terms of the averages. Makes sense with what everybody's running. Okay, there's really not anybody out of the ordinary or something along that line that we're seeing from practice. Everybody's kind of where they should be at. Really no interest, and I would have no interest in a lot of these slower guys because these guys are in a drastically different zip code. When we look at the 5 to 10 lap runs, Sorry, I'm still getting over being sick, so I apologize if I don't catch the cough in time. It just plows through uh, the audio. But Sanchez, Purdy, Taylor Gray, Dean Thompson, Stuart Friesen, uh, Riggs, yet again, like none of these guys are looking, out of the ordinary, and we can see that even, somebody like Lane Riggs, for example, who has been uh, very, very fast at these short tracks. Like, I mean, we're 2/10 just off, Nick, and this isn't including, Corey Heim or X or whatever. Like we are 2/10 off of Nick in the 10 lap runs. Like, we are not going to compete here. Okay. The one thing about Kansas that you can either like or dislike is that if you're fast, you're going to pull away from the people. We have a real chance of spraying out and getting and not really competing for stuff. And or the 2 laps after a restart, really the initial lap after the restart, is going to dictate a lot of stuff of what really happens, because you can side draft very heavily in these trucks, especially in entering turn 3. Um, because we're getting through the gears of 1 and 2, whatever. If guys are able to get a run and start side sucking whoever they're working against entering 3, they can take a lane away from them, and they can make a pass happen. Now, yet again, that's more important for the guys who are running like at the absolute top echelon with these guys here. That's going to dictate the lead. But it's also going to dictate what these guys are able to do, like Caruso or Garcia, whatever, when they're middle of the pack on a restart starting 13th or whatever. How many guys can you side draft? And you can very easily go from like 13th to like 9th between the entry of 3 and the exit of 4. And then once that happens, we just kind of spread out to where, that's where you make those positions. And so you might be like, well, you probably want a good short run car if the restarts are so important. I would argue yes, but the speed that your car has is pretty much going to be dictated here alone. I mean, there's really not. I mean, yeah, sure, from like Enfinger to these guys, like all in 167 ranges, but combine this with where you're positioned on the track. Once you get to where you're going to be running in stage 2 and stage 3, and I think this is a real situation to where if you're not making money by the end of stage 1, entering stage 2, once we start stage 2, I think you're fucked. I think you're screwed. Okay. I don't think we're going to see some like crazy stuff that we saw in the fall last year. I think it's going to be up top very much Christian Eckes. Now, when we look at this from a DFS perspective, and we look at where everybody's at in these races, which yet again, I'll check the chat in a second, because I assume you guys have questions or whatnot, since we have 56 people here for a truck race with like a 4,000 person $10 contest. That's crazy to see. What are you guys doing on Friday? Corey Heim's the best play in the slate, starting dead last, 10,500, mispriced, underpriced. You look at where Corey is at. If I can remember how to spell Corey's name correctly, he has been the best car here. Started in DFL. Showed speed very on par with what Nicholas and Lane Riggs are showing. We're just seeing 172s now. Yet again, he got the wall, whatever. Whatever. 10-5 starting last. Pretty easy. Also, secondly, the fact we only have 34 cars here, not a big fan of doing this, but it would, like, for example, like Timmy Hill and Connor Daly seem to be very good value plays because they can't lose you any positions. Okay, we're not having guys fall all the way back to 36 or something. 34th is the lowest we're going. When we look at the scoring, like Jennifer Jo Cobb is going to score in this race. If I can get to where she's at, Jennifer Jo Cobb is going to score 7 points. Worst case scenario. Okay, we have Nathan, who is starting, 32nd. Real chance he's scoring 7 points in the worst case situation. So when you look at Frankie, Nathan, Jennifer Jo Cobb, now I'm not a huge fan of truly just punting in this race, but this is helping the value range down here. The fact that we don't have a full field. Want to just keep that in mind for people who maybe aren't aware of that. But we start going through here, and I'm sure people are super tilted about Ty Majeski, which if he shows speed, I'm going to play him. Okay, let's see. Does he show speed at this track? No. No. Where's he here? Ty Majeski? Wow, has not shown speed. I'm not playing Ty Majeski today. Moving on. Connor Mozak, yet again, not playing him. We look at Eckes, who is probably the favorite to get the lead. Now, this can be getting the lead on the initial start, beating Majeski heads up, 3, 4, 5 laps into the run. Eckes has a much better car than Ty Majeski. I would not be shocked to see him And yet again, you might be like, well, he's still pretty piss poor in this range here. And Brandon, when you look at the 5-lap runs, Eck is 19th. We have Ty Majeski 7th. Yes, but we also have all these races back here. Now, yet again, it's been a long time since we've seen an intermediate track. Okay, last time out we were at Onakop, and Eckes was the best car. Heim was the best. Hey, where did Ty Majeski finish at that track where it's defined on where you're at in speed? It's defined where the team is in terms of building the car, setting up for the heavy dependence on just what your top speed can be. And Ty Majeski fell in line at Pocono of where all the other situations have been at. So, like, yet again, Eckes would be the favorite to lead and compete for a top 5 out of the top 5 starters in this race. We look at Ben Rhodes, and yet again, we like Ben Rhodes when he starts in the teens. We like him when he's starting 15th. Now, when he's starting 5th, when he's already starting above of where he should be, where we look at the practice laps and we're like, ooh, man, kind of sketchy. Ooh, boy, that's, yet again, not what we want to see. But at least for me, and I'm trying to at least answer stuff so people aren't like, oh, you're just contradicting, you're crazy in terms of practice. Like, I'm focusing on this. Like, this is where you're telling me, oh man, this end all be all practice session that was ran in the fucking daytime for a night race is going to dictate what this guy has done over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 races we're looking at. This is where Ben Rhodes is at. Starting 4th, 8,700. I'm not going to play him because realistically, Ben Rhodes is probably going to end up scoring right around 32 points today. So I'm playing Ben Rhodes. Now we look at Dawson, who's, removed Ty Dillon from the car, who is, if I'm not mistaken, the son of the owner. Could be wrong. Not really important. But we see Dawson there, who's kicked Ty Dillon out. Now, I also want to add that last year in the fall, we had DeBenedetto, good old Burrito Man, finish 3rd. Okay, so, and if anything, Ty Dillon was probably bringing this car down. Okay, so like keep that in mind. But do I think it's a top 4 car? Do I think it's top 5 car? No, I think realistically Dawson has a pretty good day, and good day in real life. Finishes like 13th, so that makes him unplayable for DFS even at 65. We look at Caden, who's had some mechanical failures in races that he was a heavy favorite in terms of DFS, in terms of where people want to play him. He's 72 here. I think he can very easily be on the cusp of making value, if not hitting like a 5-1, 5-2 at 72. I like Kane Honeycutt. Okay, we continue to go down and look at Nicholas Sanchez, who in practice you would argue has the best car, which typically when we see somebody have the best car in practice, okay, we then look at, is that a one-off? Is he just fast out of nowhere? Is he fast just off the truck? He's not going to be able to back it up. Where does he start in this race? Oh, okay, he's somewhat backed it up in Q. That's where he's at. Where is he at in these races that we've seen? And we see Nicholas Sanchez is right around, top 5 driver, starting 7th or wherever the hell he's starting today. That's not bad at all. Actually, so I can see, let's move you there and grab this so I don't have to be guessing here. And bam. Wow. So, as we're going through, you've noticed that I'm not a fan of Ty. I'm not a fan of Connor. I'm not a fan of Ben Rhodes. I'm not a fan of Sutton. Okay. And you see that I like Eckes. I like Caden. I like Sanchez. Now we see this and we see that, hey, we probably need to play Corey Heim today. Okay. And this turns into a situation to where, as long as, at least from my approach, yet again, when we look at each individual slate, where I'm at is I want to do what I think is going to be optimal for each individual slate that we run in a season. We have 96 slates in a NASCAR season. If I can win at least one of those a year, makes my year. Typically, I can take down 2. I've already taken down 1 this year. So where I'm at, I'm not trying to, make, a return or like min cash on every single slate. I'm just trying to take, it down or whatever. And so where I'm at in this race is, as long as Eckes can somewhat compete for fast laps and laps. Now, he wasn't a big fan of his car, whatever. I don't see a reason to not play Eckes today. Like I said, I see reasons to not play Ty, to not play Connor. As long as Eckes is one of the guys who's competing for the race, and we're playing Corey Heim, we're really just playing raw points after that. And what I mean by that is, Caden, Nicholas, Stuart Friesen, Dean Thompson, Lane Riggs, Ankrum. Actually, here, I'll just highlight these guys here. So we've discussed these guys as like, hey, man, they're in the pool, not too bad plays. We see Nicholas, Stuart Friesen, Dean, Lane Riggs. We see all these guys here, right? We can add Tanner Gray to it, despite the fact he probably finishes around 13th. But we see these people here highlighted, right? And the true projection really doesn't matter for these individual drivers, okay? Because for the most part, these guys highlighted in green, outside of here, I'd highlight these guys for the sake of clarity during this conversation. These drivers here in green, okay? We look at Dean Thompson, what he's been able to do, okay? 73. He's competing directly against Caden Honeycutt. He starts a little bit farther back. We've seen Dean Thompson be able to finish in the top 10 in these races. Okay, probably the most fringe guy there right off the bat. But we look at Lane Riggs, who, yet again last year in this racing, Smith, finishes fifth. We see where Lane finished last time here, and yes, he finished 18th, but he was a little baby. Lane Riggs knows what he's doing on the intermediates and stuff. I mean, you could argue that on the short tracks, but whatever. 93, starting 13th, most likely needs to finish much better than what his norm has been. So Dean Thompson and Lane Riggs, you could argue that maybe they're more on the fringe. We can highlight them as like a darker green, because that's kind of, gross and disgusting unless you're a hunter, you just walk around in camo this whole time. But you have Ankrum, who by default, outside of the true start of like running second best car to nowhere in Las Vegas, okay, is like a ninth best car. When he doesn't get crashed, when he doesn't run into issues, this is where Ankrum's going to follow. Ankrum at 74, as a guy who can finish ninth, going to compete to be optimal. We look at Chase Purdy, combined with what Chase Purdy has shown at intermediates this year. He's been a fantastic play. We look at what he showed in practice. Hey, man, Chase Purdy's looking pretty good today. Seems like Chase Purdy's the guy you want to play. Okay? So, like, Chase Purdy, Eckes, Heim, seems like a good start to the lineup. Same thing with Raja. Okay? 9,000, just needs 45 to hit value. The fact that we only have 134 points in this race means that these fringe value plays and, raw points in terms of, Raja needs 45 to hit value, but him at 43, 44, 42, 46, 47, 48, like in that range, like that's enough to get it done when we're on the fringe of hitting value. We go to Taylor Gray, who has been the better of the Gray brothers, starting 17th. Yeah, sure, runs and issues, whatever, but like true speed of where he's at, top 8 car. We look at where he's at in practice. Hey, you probably want to play Taylor Gray, Chase Purdy, Corey Heim, Eckes today. Now, it's going to be very difficult to get all 4 of those guys in. That's where we have to start going to the value plays and whatnot. But as we continue to go down, we have Infinger, who, this is where he's at. This is where he's hey, looking pretty good in practice. Hey, like, okay, that's where we're at. So as we go through, and we haven't, let's talk about Tanner really fast. Just have him highlighted, like, who's been underperforming, but he's the worst of the Gray brothers. And this is, you could see, or you can say that he's been falling back slightly compared to what we've seen, but I would argue that the field is much stronger and he is a little, beta in a sea full of alpha males. And, him finishing 18th is about where he needs to be. And so we look at these gentlemen here, okay, these four Giga Chads. Let's remove that. So we look at these 4 individuals here who are going to argue and really, really define being optimal. They're going to really try to be optimal in this slate. You combine that with Corey Heim, okay? And as we're thinking through how these lineups look, we, you build depending on whatever the salary is. Like these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think between these 5 guys, 4 of them are optimal. It's just going to come down to what builds allow you to do that. What builds allow you to get him in. Chase Purdy's probably the more likely of these drivers than Taylor. Actually, in terms of likelihood of being optimal, it's Corey Heim, Purdy, Taylor, Raja, and Infinger. But still, like these are at least 3 going to be optimal, if not 4. Okay. So, yet again, that goes back to what the heck are the lap leaders doing up here? Okay. If Majeski is truly going to underperform to where, like, I mean, this is where he's at in these intermediates. Like, we can't see him being, a true lap leader, and or he leads early and falls through the field where that cancels out whatever he's led. Okay. If Majeski finishes, or at least ends up running where these results are not results, but where his true speed is in these races, then that means like Majeski can lead, 15, 18, 23, 30 laps. And based on where he is at on these speeds of intermediates, he'll just remove those from play. And then this race turns into a 100 lap race, with 100 laps led being distributed between the obstacle and stuff. So like, I don't think you need to really worry about Majeski today. If he leads laps or not, realistically, I mean, outside of Darlington, even then he got beat by Corey. Like, Majeski's outcomes in these races don't matter outside of if he just kills the field and runs away, which I don't see the practice speed for that. I don't see the history from that. And so, like, I don't see a reason to play Majeski. I don't see a reason to play Connor. We get to Eckes. What does Eckes really do? If he's going to be, a guy who's going to compete to lead laps, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine, but he's 10-3. Realistically, Eckes is going to be scoring very similar to these guys in green, unless he eclipses, let me see, let me get my actual numbers here. Unless he eclipses like, 38, 40, 50 laps led and like, 25, 30 fast laps. Until he eclipses that number, Purdy, Rajik, Taylor Gray, and Enfinger are going to be rivaling what his, projected finish or his projected points are going to be. And they're certainly going to be better value plays than him. Okay, so when we look at this race from a, you know, projection based of who are your lap leaders and how do they compete with the guys coming through the field, which we've seen time and time again, even if we, if we're not necessarily looking at the lap leaders, but we look at the amount of place differential that comes through in these races. Let's just go back outside top 10, 9th, 10th, 23rd, 19th, 31st, 18th, 22nd. Top 10s get obliterated in the spring. Look back at the fall last year, okay? 8th, 16th, 11th, 15th, 14th, 17th, 20th. A lot of those teens and 20 guys in this range are coming through in both these races that we've seen. We go back 3 races. 11th, 12th, 7th, 14th, 17th, place differential is coming through in these races. We have guys who are typically qualifying poorly that are gaining positions in these races. Now, you have to go all the way back to the last race in 2022 to see that's not to have that not be the case. Okay, I would also argue that we have seen more and more bad qualifying situations from guys this year and last year compared to what we used to see. Now, I'm not entirely sure why that is. Like, there's no reason that like Grant should be queuing like 19th. The Gray brothers qualifying like 17th and everything. Hell, even in earlier in the year, we kept on having like Corey Heim like start 15th and stuff. Like, I'm not entirely sure what's causing that anomaly. More recently of guys just qualifying poorly and starting the teams. I don't know exactly why there's so many bad teams out there over qualifying, but that is something that we've seen. And so when we look at this slate, I would honestly prioritize the guys in green. And if I get to Eckes, if I get to Nicholas, I get to them. I'd probably try and prioritize Nicholas over Eckes just for the slight discount in price and the fact that Nicholas is starting a couple positions behind him. But figuring out how to get as many of these guys in your lineup is the priority. Okay. And that's why I haven't talked about, but what about Matt Mills? What about all these value guys? Like, I don't think it really matters. You're just kind of building to survive or building to get that lineup or prioritize the guys you're getting into. And you're kind of just ending up on these guys down here. Like Daniel Dye starting 10th. I think he's in play. I don't really have a huge take on him. Now, he has been performing well decently. Him at 75 is probably a guy that you're probably going to get to. Him and Thompson, in my opinion, are maybe, I was going to say the same play. I'd argue that Dye is better than what Dean is able to bring to the table. But like, Daniel Dye is going to be there. He's not going to win the race, but based on the salary constraints that we're at. Like Daniel Dye seems like a good play. We look at Mills, who is unironically a direct like line graph here, like nothing but improvement, which that's actually very, very rare to see. Like actual just straight improvement week after week after week by the same percentage too. Pretty crazy. We look at Mills, I'd argue that he's 15, 16, starting 12, 63, probably like kind of unplayable at that price tag. Like he needs to maintain 12th. I think he finishes 15th. That you're probably going to lose a GPP by playing Matt Mills and having him finish 15th. This is once we have the guys that we're focusing on, I really don't want to lose. And I'm not saying you can't cash with Matt Mills, but I really don't want to lose the GPP by taking an unnecessary risk on somebody like Matt Mills and stuff. We talk about these guys. We look at Corey Day, like I'm not really seeing anything too crazy here. Like then a McAnally car. Is my take really going to change anything? What do I have him at? I got Day for. Got him 14th with 33 points. Like that's a 4-7. I don't think that's going to get her done. We look at Holmes. He's right where he should be. We look at Queen, which we haven't talked about Queen yet. $7,000. Yet again, probably another guy that you want to prioritize. And if you start doing 1v1s on these guys, Queen is a much better play when put against Taylor Gray, Endfinger, Roger Caruth. And I'm sorry I didn't include him during that whole, when I highlighted these guys in greens, but like Queen is the guy that makes a lot of sense. $7,000, really easy to pay it off. Him and Purdy, probably the easiest guys to hit value in this race. Okay, Lawless Allen, optimal last year, but he's starting 24th. We're not playing Marco. I mean, what is this guy do? I don't fathom this at all. Like, what is the Andretti family going? What are they doing? What is going on this week? But it baffles me how bad Marco is with the money that he has. What are we doing? Haven't talked about Crafton yet, but starting 26, man, this is where I'm not necessarily seeing what I want to see from the practice sessions, from the practice laps. Like this is not typically what you want to see. A lot of time in pit lane, a lot of adjustments being made. Same thing with Lane Riggs. Like Lane Riggs ran that fast lap, went in pit lane, and sure ran a long run, but that's typically not what you want to see. Is a direct early pit entry by some of these guys. Look at Justin. Like, actually, I didn't want him doing that. He's not even in the stupid history here. Like 159 average. No, thank you. Boyd, like, I'm gonna need chaos to get through. 34 cars in this race, less than normal. 51, like, probably not viable. Connor Daly, Nice car, okay, whatever, has experience at this track. He's actually ran quite a lot of races at Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but I know he's ran at least once with, in that race Pastrana was in as well. Actually, his Daly hasn't ran an intermediate this year. Yes, he is slow. I mean, that's the wrong one. I mean, all roads just point back to like Timmy Hill today. Like Timmy Hill's the value play. I think you're taking a lot of risk if you're going below 5,900 a day. I personally don't really want to unless my lineup is just forcing me to go down there. Yet again, this isn't necessarily impressive nor what you want to see, but it's Timmy Hill. That's what we typically see in practice. You look at what Timmy Hill's been able to do in these races. Let's go ahead and find good old TH this year. And you look at the intermediate tracks. Now, yet again, this is based on where he's at in terms of speed versus other people, not their finishing position. You look at Timmy Hill, especially when he qualifies in the back of the field, he's typically able to gain quite a lot of positions. Okay, we look at where Timmy Hill's finished in the recent races. Now, granted, these are short tracks, but 22nd, 25th, 19th, 19th, pretty good. We look at intermediates, 23rd, 27th, Gateway, short track, whatever. 18th, still good to see. 22nd from Charlotte. 13th at Darlington, 22nd Kansas early in the year, 21st at Texas. I think Timmy Hill's probably the best value play and the cheapest you want to go. I think all roads link back or, go towards Timmy Hill as the value play. and that's the slate. Okay, I'll see what you guys are saying, but what I'm gonna probably do is, honest to God, probably prioritize place differential more than normal. If I get to Eckes, I get to Eckes. If I get to Sanchez, I get to Sanchez. But I'm not concerned about that. And actually, ideally, which I think can happen, I think in that strategy, worst case scenario is Eckes takes the lead early. Because then you're probably gonna need Eckes, right? But if Majeski can lead, like I mean, I got Majeski projected for 8 laps led and 4 fast laps, right? I don't have much faith. That's a long time. Okay, shit, that's like 6 minutes IRL. But dude, if Majeski can like lead like the first 25 laps and keep Eckes from leading, because yet again, I don't think Majeski finishes in the top 3 or anything today. If he could take away as many potential laps led as possible early in the race and then fall through, that just helps place differential more. Okay, so, the real 1v1 that I'm going to be competing against is how bad and what does Eckes do? Okay, what does Nicholas do? What does the main early lap leader do? Are they staying up there the whole time, or are they falling through the field? History would dictate that, hey man, he's hold on, we gotta go back here. History would dictate oh god, sorry. History would dictate that the guy who leads early, let's take a quick gander real fast. He leads 7. Let's look at just the early lap leaders, right? We kind of flip flop here, so that'd probably be good to see. Let's see what happens here. Do we flip flop? Early lap leader Nick Sanchez. Where did he start in this race? Where did Nicotine start in this race? What the heck? Lord help me here. Well, shit, I should have just kept it on there instead of doing that. It took way too long. He starts second, right? Leads 43 laps, finishes 8th. Was he optimal in that? Give me a second, actually. I got to check something here, and then I'll check chat. I do apologize I haven't checked chat yet. But I gotta check my video really fast. Where are we at? Here, it's right here. Do we have? I'm pretty sure I show it. I don't know if he worked here. Second, 8th, 40. Oh yeah, he's 9. Okay. What is he today? 9-2. So, we're at least for me, I'm thinking out loud of like, what does the early lap leader do, man? Does he stay up there? Is he viable? Is he not? Like that's the main question I really don't have an answer to. Like that's honestly the risk. Okay. And that's why going back to in this race, we come out of stage 2, regardless if we get a wreck before the end of stage 1 or whatever. I think 5 laps, 6 laps into stage 2, you have a great idea if you're going to cash or not. I think you'll be able to tell what you're going to be able to do by the start of stage 2. Let me actually, you guys, I'm so sorry. I just kind of rambled for 32 minutes without even acknowledging you guys on this Friday. Thank you for the 690 you guys here. I do appreciate it. Let's see what's going on. Ryan, what's up? Pirate, what's going on? Matthew, just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Race goes green to focus on playoff driver. So yet again, I don't include the playoffs at all in anything. Okay. I know Rhodes is below the cut line. Rhodes is not making the next round, so that's not. Let's go ahead and take a quick gander really fast at the playoff stuff. Typically, I don't let the playoffs involve or dictate stuff too much. On the bubble, Rhodes, really no interest anyway. Not a concern. Daniel Dye starts 10th. Like, dude, that's where Daniel's at. I don't think it's going to be much here. If he chases stage points, the only time that's going to be a bad thing is if we have a yellow right before the end of a stage. For the most part, I don't think Daniel Dye is going to. I don't think really anybody's dictated by their playoff standings at all. Okay. Yet again, I also don't like how this should be updated like right now. because we have the queue. We technically have where they're running right now. I hate the way live points are scored. And also, what drives me crazy is how NASCAR gives live points for people in the top 10 as if they're going to finish there in both stages. I don't like that as well. But Daniel Dye, as soon as this race goes green, hey, guess what? Enfinger's out of the playoffs. Gray is in probably by like 3 points, but Enfinger's starting like 19th or whatever. Daniel Dye's starting 10th. It's technically right now Daniel Dye's in the playoffs. Enfinger's out. Okay. Hey man, well if Fig figures out he's got to push, well the guy's already started 19th. He's got to go like that. Taylor Gray's in 17th. They're going to go. I don't think the playoffs have any true impact on projections or how this race plays out. To be honest, that's how I look at it. So important, it's not important. Like it doesn't matter. That's my take. So I apologize I didn't say that earlier, but I don't even think of the playoffs at all. Unless it's situations to where it's more dire or where it's going to be like an apparent impact on the race. Top 3 plays, 7K range, probably Queen, Chase Purdy, Daniel Dye. I probably in that order. I was doing football last week, did extremely well. I had a bunch of random, because I never go on FanDuel, right? Had a bunch of random vouchers on there, just threw those in the 15. Just stacked Mahomes, because like in FanDuel, you just always stack the late game, right? Like because nobody's playing the 7 o'clock game, right? So I just basically ran the same lineup with like I ran 5 vouchers. I don't even remember how many he had. I just threw everything in the 15. It was like 100% Mahomes, 100% Rice, 100% Goddard, and 100% like whoever the running back from the Seahawks were, and that was it. That was enough for the day. And the Colts defense, like that fantastic day, right? Had him there, had free vouchers and shit on like Yahoo. Basically, just played for free and did great. And actually, coming out of like here, we'll show off the like this last week has been pretty nice. Like it's not too bad. We look at the last like 7 days just in general, only because you asked, right? Like it's the only reason I'm bringing this up. League of Legends toss up, not really doing more than like 5 or whatever each day, but like Showdown's been pretty good. Also, dude, you want to talk about being pissed off? Because I just do one. What is this? This is football in the 1960s. I had to sweat this idiot, this moron. Can't throw a fucking touchdown in 2024. Not a single touchdown, not 300. And then Aubrey missed the entire like last quarter of the game yesterday was a disaster. It was like worst case scenario across the board for everything. But like I really can't complain. Oh, shout out to this guy. Cooked us, soloed league on Wednesday or Tuesday. Good for him, man. Had a one-off player, a losing team. What a G by Hurt. But I'm just kind of here grinding. Every NFL showdown's been pretty good. Can't really complain. It's been pretty decent. I can't complain. We've had quite a good time. So we'll see what happens here. F1 went well. We're just doing my thing, lining up. Well, actually, at this point, it's already been. Well, yeah, I already had to take down this. Yeah, so just another year. Gonna have to pay a shitload of taxes, and I just get crucified by all this stuff, around tax season. Just another one of those seasons. What else we got going on? Have Majeski leading stage 1 and getting Pip. Oh, that IVJJ, that would be a pretty good projection. That would not shock me. But yeah, like that's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm just gonna focus on the place differential probably more than normal. Bit more aggressive here. Like we have a lot of like Queen at 23, Taylor at 17th, Chase Purdy. Like I'm really outside of like your lap leader and stuff. Like Queen, Purdy, excuse me, and Taylor Gray. I got those 3, and this isn't even like their ceiling stuff. I got those 3 by themselves scoring 122 points. So that's a pretty good showing by $7,500 guy at 85 and a 7,000. That's not including Corey Heim. That's not including anybody else. Um, I just don't think, you play situations and stuff how it ends in your head. Um, why did the grid get posted twice? What the hell? That's weird. Um, you play this out in your mind, and it's like I think it's real high that 5 of the optimal drivers don't start in the top 10. Real chance it could be 6, but if it's 5, then it probably dictates that Eckes or Sanchez would be the one guy in the top 10 with your 5 place differential plays. Um, then the contest has like 4,000 people in it. I don't think you got to get crazy. Like, no reason to just like I don't think there's any reason to punt. Typically, I'd be like, yeah, I'm playing Jennifer Joe Cobb. Yeah, I'm playing Frankie Muniz. But like, I don't think I don't think you need to do that risk. That's like unnecessary, you know, floor like 11, 12, 13, 15 points. I don't think you need that today. So I'm probably going to be pretty heavy on place differential. That's kind of where I'm at. Uh, yeah. So I mean, I'm seeing what Weska's posting with Queen. I mean, well, I got no issue with Queen, and the real thing here. Now I could be wrong. Um, I don't have the time to go back into Nashville because I don't. I'd have to go back to just kind of add on to that point. I'd like to know at this point, not enough to go and look, but like when Queen got that speeding penalty was early or not, because like I mean he was the 22nd best car there, but my stuff runs it by if he just ran, if he was lapped down and ran the back field all the way, then it kept him down. Um, but he's $7,000. Like he's one of the best guys in the nation. You know, I know Pierce always had his short track stuff that he talks about, but like this is when you play that guy starting 23rd at $7,000. That's like you'll pay you'll do dumber stuff on Sunday when you're playing some idiot wide receiver 3 on some team like Queen at starting 23rd. I think is a pretty safe play. um but yeah, like this race is very, I think this is a fun slate for everything I've talked about, everything I broke down and discussed. um and what else? I don't know. I think that's about it really. um Yeah, yeah, Queen. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not concerned about local stuff. I'm talking about more the cars who are at stuff. Um, but still, I mean, everybody. Yet again, other side of that coin. Everybody drives cars now. We're in like we. It's 73. You guys here. I appreciate it. If we're kind of done talking DFS here, we're kind of just talking as I kind of kill time for the next bit. When does this? When does this slate start? It starts in hour and 5 minutes. I can't explain this enough that racing is changing. Okay, we know that, right? Racing is changing. There's less respect out there at the top level, at the local level, whatever. But we are really getting close. Now we had the spoon-fed babies who, Daddy, I want to race, and then they put them in a race car and stuff. In the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and stuff. But now we're getting into a point within the next 5 to 6 years, everybody racing and everybody, or look at it this way, like since the towers went down, any kid born in that time, no, that's a bit too much. Let's say any kid born after 2010. I was trying to think of like a important time thing that happened in the world in 2010, but I can't think of it. But any kid born, because they're 14 right now, okay? So shit, it could be anybody born like 06, 07. But any kid at that point, they're gonna have a sim rig. They're gonna be racing at local go-kart tracks and stuff. Whatever the case would be, everybody once, if you're born 06, 05, 08, 10, whatever, once you turn 18, 19, 20, you have probably done 3,000 sim races in your life. You have had more experience racing in some form than any of these boomers did in the 90s, 80s, 70s, and stuff. Okay, so Brennan Queen, very good short track guy, wins the Cars Tour, kicks the shit out of guys local tracks. Okay, really good. But what the level of skill is going to be raised by default now if they decide to kill each other and wreck each other, whatever. But level of skill is going to be raised by default because little Tim over there has been on iRacing for 15 years. Like all these kids are going to have way more experience. All these guys are going to have way more talent. And so at this point, or at least certainly here, once you get to people like Queen or like one-off guys, or hell, even like Dawson and whatever, like these kids are way better than the kids who came through. Like we're not gonna get no more like Brandon Jones is coming through. We're gonna get they're all gonna be like Connor Zilich and stuff like that. Just what the new age of racing is creating, providing, and leaning towards. And then it makes the old guard, like Crafton. Okay, whatever, past prime, whatever. Like Crafton cannot hold a candle to like a 23-year-old now in terms of experience. Like, to be honest, whatever. Like Crafton had to get all those races in real life, couldn't push it, couldn't tear cars up. Yet again, little Tim's just been on iRacing for 15, 17, 20 years. Year of our Lord will be like 2034, and everybody in the Cup Series started racing on a computer. Like that's how it is. We already say that about Byron and stuff, but like everybody is sim racing. Like everybody's gonna be coming through that pipe hole. Everybody's gonna be coming through local short tracks with the best things money can buy or whatever. So yet again, not relative to this slate, whatever. But I'm just talking in that sense. Maybe people like it, maybe people don't. Yes, Honeycutt's in play. Dave, I think I did a really really good breakdown today. It's 45 minutes. At least this video is 45 minutes long. Slate locks an hour. You can go back and listen to it on 2x and be done with like 25 minutes left before the slate locks. I think you can do pretty decently. I think I am going to end it there. Thank you very much for spending your Friday night with me. Thank you for the likes, the views, following my content this deep into the year because, NFL, everything's going on right now. Thank you for joining the site, and best of luck, guys. I will see you tomorrow talking about the Xfinity Series slate, which just a heads up, going to be pretty crazy. Kansas is very volatile for Xfinity, specifically with playoff drivers, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. But anything that or anyway, thank you for being here, and best of luck. I'll see you guys later.